Told you that evil doesn't always announce itself with chaos. That sometimes the most terrifying moments are the ones that look completely ordinary. On November 13th, 2022, for University of Idaho students were taken from this world in an act so calculated, so deliberate, that it would shake an entire nation. But before we dive into the darkness of that night, I need you to do something for me. If you're drawn to cases that expose the fragile line between normalcy and horror, cases that make you question how well we truly know the people around us, then hit that subscribe button right now. This is Dark Trail Files, where we don't just tell stories, we uncover the truth hiding beneath the surface. Every week, we bring you investigations that matter, told with the respect these victims deserve. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and join a community that refuses to look away from the hard questions. Now let's begin. November 13th, 2022. Moscow, Idaho. A college town where students walked freely, where parents believed their children were safe, where the biggest concerns were midterm exams and weekend plans. In a rental house on King Road, 6 roommates lived what appeared to be a typical college existence. But in the early morning hours, while most of the town slept, someone entered that house. Someone who had made a choice that would destroy multiple families forever. Madison Mogen, 21 years old. Kaylee Goncalves, 21 years old. Xana Kernodle, 20 years old. Ethan Chapin, 20 years old. For lives full of potential, full of dreams, ended in a matter of minutes. 2 roommates survived that night. Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortensen, and what they would later reveal to investigators would piece together a timeline that still haunts everyone who hears it. Nearly 8 hours after the attacks, confusion and panic finally broke through the silence of that house. What was said in those desperate moments would reveal just how incomprehensible this tragedy truly was.
Number 13, 2022. 911 location of your emergency.
Something is happening. Something happened in our house. We don't know what.
What is the address of the emergency?
1122.
What is the rest of the address?
Oh, Kings Road.
Okay. And is that a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
Can you repeat the address to make sure that I have it right?
I'll talk to you guys. We live at the light, so we're next to them.
I need someone to repeat the address for verification.
The address, 1122 King Road.
And what's the phone number that you're calling from?
What's your phone number?
And tell me exactly what's going on.
One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night and she's not waking up.
Okay.
Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah.
And are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone, stop passing it around.
Can I just tell you what happened pretty much?
What is going on currently? Is someone passed out right now?
I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m.
Okay, I need to know what's going on right now if someone is passed out. Can you find that out?
Yeah, I'll come. Come on, but we gotta go check. But we have to. Is he passed out? What's wrong? She's not waking up.
Okay, one moment. I'm getting help started that way.
Okay, thank you. What's wrong?
Okay, and how old is she?
She's 20.
20, you said?
Yes, 20 years old.
Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people.
Hey, sorry, they just gave me the phone.
Is she breathing?
Hello?
Is she breathing?
No.
Okay.
Talk to them, okay? I can't talk to them. I need you to talk to them.
Hello.
Okay. I've already sent the ambulance and law enforcement. Stay on the line. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
Say that again? There's a police here right now.
Okay. If there's a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
We don't have one. Do you have a defibrillator? Yes, we have one.
Are you talking to the officer?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to let you go since he's there with you and can help you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay.
11:59 a.m.
The call came in at 11:55 in the morning, not at 4 a.m. when the crimes occurred, not at dawn when the first light revealed the horror, but hours later when friends arrived and found a scene that their minds couldn't fully process. In the frantic audio, you can hear the collapse of understanding itself. Someone says their friend is unconscious, passed out from drinking. Then, almost as an afterthought, words that should have been screamed first. They saw a man in the house last night. This is how trauma sounds. Not cinematic. Not clear. It sounds like people trying to force their brains to accept what their eyes are seeing. It sounds like the moment when reality fractures, when the mind protects itself by refusing to immediately comprehend the magnitude of what has happened. One caller can barely speak through sobs. Another tries to provide information but keeps starting and stopping. A male voice confirms someone isn't breathing. Then police arrive and the call ends. But the nightmare was only beginning. When officers entered that house, they found a scene that would be described by investigators as one of the most brutal they had ever encountered. The second floor common areas appeared normal, exactly what you would expect in a house full of college students. But behind closed doors in the bedrooms, the truth waited. Xana Kernodle was found on the floor of her room. Her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, was in her bed. Both had been attacked while they slept. Blood had seeped through the wall, visible from outside the house hours before their bodies were discovered. On the third floor, Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogen were found together in Madison's bed. Investigators would later reveal that Kaylee had suffered over 20 stab wounds. Xana had over 50, many of them defensive wounds, meaning she had fought desperately for her life. None of the victims had been restrained or bound. None had been assaulted in other ways. This was targeted violence, fast and brutal, carried out by someone who entered with one purpose only. The weapon was believed to be a large fixed-blade knife, similar to a K-bar style hunting knife. That weapon has never been found. But something else was left behind, something that would eventually lead investigators to a name that would become infamous: Bryan Kohberger. Near the bodies of Kaylee and Madison, investigators found a knife sheath. On the snap of that sheath, they found male DNA. That DNA didn't match anyone in the criminal database. But through forensic genetic genealogy, the kind of technology that has solved cold cases decades old, investigators were able to develop a profile. That profile led them to relatives of an unknown suspect. And those leads all pointed to one person. Bryan Kohberger was 28 years old, a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University, located just 8 miles from the University of Idaho campus. He was studying the very field that would ultimately be used to track him down. He was in his first semester of the program, completing coursework on criminal behavior, on the psychology of offenders, on how law enforcement investigates violent crimes. And according to what would later emerge, he was allegedly becoming what he studied. Investigators gathered evidence quietly. They tracked his white Hyundai Elantra, a car that had been seen on surveillance footage near the victim's house multiple times before the attacks. Cell phone data placed Kohberger's phone in the area of the King Roadhouse on at least 12 occasions prior to November 13th. After the murders, his phone went dark, disconnecting from the network around 2:47 a.m. and reconnecting nearly 2 hours later near Blaine, Idaho, south of Moscow. Investigators believe this was when he was driving away from the crime scene. His phone turned off to avoid detection. As investigators built their case, Kohberger made a planned trip home for the holidays. And during that cross-country drive, he and his father had 2 encounters with law enforcement that would later take on chilling significance.
I am Officer Loangus. Stops being audio and video recorded. I think you know why I stopped you. You ran the red light.
What actually happened was I was stuck in the middle of the intersection.
Yeah,
so I was
behind you the whole time. Yeah. So technically you're not supposed to enter the intersection at all for that reason, because if the light turns red, then you're stuck in the intersection, and then you run the red light. So that's the reason I stopped you. Do you have your license on you?
Yep. We just get this for you out.
You what?
I'm just going to get this out for you.
Okay.
Would you explain that to me a little bit further? So in Pennsylvania, when you're stuck like in the intersection, you have to make the left. So what would the appropriate thing for me to have done?
You're not supposed to block an intersection like that in Washington, so just by you blocking the intersection, that's technically a ticketable violation, and then you're running a red light, so it's another ticketable offense. So you're not supposed to proceed into the intersection until you can go, because a lot of people do what you just did, right? It's like you're sitting in the intersection waiting, and then turns, then you're blocking, so.
Yeah, there was a little bit of confusion with speeding, because someone had stopped. I wasn't sure what they were doing, and then they put on their light to turn. So I thought that maybe they were letting me go through.
Oh.
Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, like right before I made the turn, there was someone who made a right. And they didn't have their signal on, so I wasn't sure if they were just waiting.
Yeah, so I would just advise just don't enter the intersection until you can go, so you don't get stuck. Let's see.
But in that situation, the best thing to do then would be back up. And not...
I don't know if there's a best thing to do in that situation, because you're either going to back up into somebody, or you're going to run a red light. So, or you'll be sitting in an intersection. There's not really a great option there.
Yeah, I was just sliding into the crosswalk, so... where I'm from Pennsylvania, we actually don't have, like, crosswalks.
Oh,
so even if you're kind of slightly... there's a little bit more leeway as well. Like, there are a few lines. Like, there's one white line, and there's another one. Like, there's, like a certain margin from which you can actually kind of place your vehicle.
Yeah, so I know laws vary state to state, but there is a law in Washington for blocking an intersection like that, proceeding through, and you don't, when you're just stalling. I forget the actual verbiage, I can find it for you, but it's like stalling, blocking an intersection.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the law. I don't mean to...
Oh, no, yeah, I can find it for you. Yeah. 1 second. That looks good on a Hyundai. I don't see Pennsylvania registration like at all. Okay, let's see. Okay. So I'm not writing a ticket or anything like that today. I understand you're from Pennsylvania, but in the future, don't proceed through the intersection. You can't get stopped for that alone unless you can clearly just clear it right away. So
then basically, I understand.
You're just supposed to wait behind the white line. Drivers do it all the time, but
it never even occurred to me that was actually something wrong. But well, except for the fact that I was blocking the crosswalk, which is what I went through.
And states vary from laws. Like Pennsylvania might not even have that law, but in Washington we do.
I'm actually just from a very rural area, so we just don't have crosswalks. Unless I visit an area where there are crosswalks, and then it's not very frequent. Yeah, I do apologize if I was asking you too many questions about the law. I wasn't trying to No,
not at all. Like I understand you're not from here, so if you don't, a lot of people don't know a bunch of laws. Like I only know it because this is what I do, but if you're ever curious on any more laws, just RCW, and they can be hard to read because it's in like legal language, but hope that helps.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Hello. How y'all doing? Good. Take your driver's license real quick if I could. See, he's right up on the van, man. He's right up on the back of that van. You're over for tailgating. Is this your car? Okay. Cool. Where you headed?
Well, we're coming from WSU. And we're standing.
What's WSU?
University, basically. It's up there in that is SWAT team area.
So I'm having a hard time reading because of the traffic. So you're coming from Washington State University, and you're going there?
We're going to be going to Pennsylvania.
Oh, Okay.
Yeah. We're fine to let you drive for hours.
Hours, days.
Hours. Drive. Yeah.
Okay.
On December 15th, 2022, Bryan Kohberger and his father, Michael Kohberger, were driving from Washington to Pennsylvania. Bryan was behind the wheel of his white Hyundai Elantra, the same vehicle that had been identified in connection with the murders, though, at this point, the specific license plate had not yet been released to patrol officers. In Hancock County, Indiana, they were pulled over twice within 9 minutes for following other vehicles too closely. In the body cam footage, you see a completely normal traffic stop. The officer approaches. Bryan is calm, cooperative. His father explains they've been driving for hours, that they're coming from Washington State University, heading to the Poconos. The officer asks about the drive. Bryan mentions they're going to get Thai food. His father describes them as slightly punchy from the long trip. When the officer brings up something about SWAT teams, referring to news in the area, Bryan flatly states they weren't there for any shooting, that they only know about an incident from phone alerts. The officer gives a warning and lets them go. No ticket. No further questions. Just two men on a road trip, a father and son, traveling cross-country for the holidays. What the father didn't know, what the officer couldn't have known, was that investigators were already closing in. Surveillance teams were tracking their movements. Within 15 days, Bryan Kohberger would be arrested at his parents' home in Pennsylvania. Think about that moment from the father's perspective. You're sitting next to your son, making conversation with a police officer about traffic and dinner plans. You have no reason to suspect anything is wrong. You're just a dad, helping your son get home for Christmas. And yet, unbeknownst to you, your son is allegedly carrying a secret so dark, so unthinkable, that your life will never be the same once the truth emerges. This is the unbearable irony of proximity, being closest to someone you don't truly know. On December 30th, 2022, at approximately 6 a.m., Pennsylvania State Police, in coordination with FBI agents and Idaho law enforcement, executed an arrest warrant at the Kohberger family home in Monroe County, Pennsylvania. Bryan Kohberger was taken into custody without incident. He was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary. Investigators had collected DNA from trash discarded outside the home, comparing it to the DNA found on the knife sheath at the crime scene. The forensic analysis confirmed a match. They had their suspect. The man who had once been unknown to most of the world was about to have his name and face broadcasted everywhere. This was the moment when speculation ended and legal reality began.
Oh, we got him. We took care of it. You guys.
$50,000 fine or both. Do you understand?
Yes.
Count 2 alleges that you committed the felony offense of murder in the first degree. It alleges that the defendant, Bryan C. Kohberger, on or about November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogen, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogen, from which she died, in violation of Idaho Code 18-4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. The maximum penalty for this offense, if you were to plead guilty or be found guilty, is death or imprisonment for life.
The first court appearance is always significant. It's when a private individual becomes a public suspect, when allegations become part of the official record, when a face becomes permanently associated with a crime. For Bryan Kohberger, this was the moment his anonymity died forever. He appeared before a judge, his expression neutral, his posture composed. He said very little, only confirming his understanding of the charges. His public defender stated that Kohberger was eager to be exonerated and looked forward to resolving the matter promptly. This marked the beginning of a legal process that would stretch for over 2 years. A process marked by sealed documents, intense media scrutiny, and a community desperate for answers. Prosecutors announced they would seek the death penalty. Defense attorneys began building arguments for why that would be unconstitutional, citing Kohberger's diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, arguing it affected his culpability and his ability to assist in his own defense. But through all the legal maneuvering, one question remained unanswered. Why? What was the motive? Investigators searched for connections between Kohberger and the victims. They found none. No social media interactions. No evidence they had ever met. No history of conflict or contact. Kohberger's phone had been in the area of their house multiple times, suggesting surveillance, but there was no definitive proof he knew them personally. While prosecutors built their case, the survivors carried a weight that would never fully lift. Bethany Funk, one of the two roommates who lived through that night, sat down with investigators to recount the final hours.
She just knocked on my door, I think, during the last. I had my face in them.
Okay. Then what happened after that?
I just went to bed, and then I woke up, but I was like half asleep, and I thought I saw like a firework or something, like it just sparkled like under my door, and then I thought I heard like something kind of fall, and then Murphy barked, but I thought people were just making maybe like an Ethan was here or something and knocked something over, because he's usually loud in the kitchen upstairs.
Okay. So what do you mean by you heard a firework?
It sounded like a little firework, and then there was like a spark. I went by my, like, I'm on the bottom floor.
Okay.
So it kind of looked like it came down there, but I don't know.
So is Murphy your dog?
Kaylee's dog.
Kaylee's dog?
Kaylee and her ex-boyfriend's dog.
Okay. So you heard Murphy bark right after you heard what you thought was a firecracker?
Yeah, something like that. Like, I don't know, dogs bark at random things. And sometimes when he's happy, he'll bark.
Okay. It didn't sound like an angry growl or anything like that, just a bark?
I don't really know. I was like half asleep.
Okay.
It just sounded like bark.
So, hear the firework, kind of see a spark underneath the door. Murphy barks. What did you hear after that?
Pretty much nothing. That's it.
Okay. And you thought maybe someone was just in the kitchen at that point?
Yeah, just like someone accidentally fell into the table or something.
Okay.
And she was like, Murphy.
Do you know what time that might have been? Do you have any idea?
4 or something. I tried to call all the at like 4:20ish. Around that time, and no one was answering. I thought they just went to bed or something.
Okay. What happened after that?
Called me, and she said she thinks she saw someone. And I didn't know like really what to think of it, because sometimes we think we hear things a lot in the house, but it's usually just Ethan walking around. But she came. I told her to come in my room, and she could sleep with me, and we could lock the door and just stay in there just in case if there was anything. And that's all I know. And then I fell back asleep.
You didn't hear anything else? Okay. No one else talking? Okay. Did you make it to your room then? Okay. What time do you think she got in your room?
Like 4:20, 4:30.
Okay, about the same time.
Yeah.
Where's her room located to yours?
I'm the only one on the bottom floor, right by the front door.
Okay.
And then you go up the stairs, and Xana's room, and Xana's room, the kitchen, and then upstairs is Madden King's.
Okay. And where's the room?
Right by the kitchen.
Right by the kitchen. Okay. Did she say anything to you when she got into the room?
She said she thought she saw me, but I didn't know what to think of it. I was like still half asleep, and I was like, I didn't know what to, I don't know. Okay. It didn't sound like I didn't hear screams, I didn't hear anything, so I didn't really know.
Okay. Okay. But obviously she didn't say anything more than she just saw someone.
No, that's all I remember.
Bethany Funk's interrogation footage reveals something crucial about survival. It doesn't look like relief. She describes the timeline of the evening, the normalcy of it. Who went where? Who came home when lights were turned off? She speaks carefully, trying to remember details that now carry unbearable weight. Every ordinary moment from that night is now a marker, a countdown to something she couldn't have prevented. The investigators are gentle but persistent. They need to know everything, and she tries to provide it, but you can see the fractures in her memory, the way trauma disrupts the ability to create a clear narrative. She's not just a witness. She's someone who will spend the rest of her life asking herself impossible questions. Why did she survive? Was there something she should have noticed? Could anything have been different? This is the survivor's burden. It's not about guilt in any legal sense. It's about carrying the knowledge that you were there, alive, while others died. It's about replaying every sound, every moment of that night, searching for meaning in chaos that has no meaning. Bethany Funk survived, but survival in cases like this is not the end of suffering. It's the beginning of a different kind. As the case moved forward, prosecutors and defense attorneys engaged in the typical pretrial battles. Motions to suppress evidence. Arguments over what could be presented to a jury. Debates about DNA collection methods, cell phone tracking, and whether certain testimony should be allowed. The defense attempted to introduce the possibility of alternate perpetrators, suggesting that others could have committed the crimes. The judge denied these motions, stating the evidence presented was irrelevant and speculative. For the families of the victims, each court appearance became another exercise in waiting. Justice, they were learning, does not move at the speed of grief.
All right.
All right, good morning. We are on the record. 29222805. This is State of Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger. Mr. Kohberger is in custody. He is appearing here in court with his attorneys, Ms. Taylor, Mr. Logsdon, Mr. Thompson, Ms. Jennings appearing on behalf of the state. This is the time set in the matter for the preliminary hearing status conference. So I am going to inquire of counsel. Ms. Taylor, what's the status at this time?
Thank you, Your Honor. We are going to ask the court to set preliminary hearing out into June. We would request the 3rd or 4th week of June and probably 4 or 5 days for preliminary hearing. Mr. Kohberger understands his right to a timely preliminary hearing, and he's willing to waive the timeliness to allow us time to obtain discovery in this case and be prepared.
And Mr. Thompson, are you in agreement with that?
The state has no objection to that, Your Honor. Ms. Taylor reached out to us by email yesterday with her proposal. On reflection, the state's calendar would be better in the month of July, but we will make the end of June work if that's the court's preference. And I haven't had a chance to talk to Ms. Taylor about that. I'm sorry, I know that's last minute.
That's okay. The court's calendar is going to be better towards the end of June, early July. So would that work, Ms. Taylor, for your scheduling on your other matters?
Your Honor, yes. If we take that 4th week in June, that's actually best.
Okay. So, Mr. Kohberger, I need to speak to you for a moment then. Sir, you do understand, and Ms. Taylor has represented here, that she's advised you of your right to have, or fully discussed with you the right that you have, which is to have your preliminary hearing within 14 days of the date that you initially appeared before this court. As you recall, when I advised you of your rights, that hearing is a probable cause hearing where the state has to establish that more likely than not, these felony offenses were committed and you were the one that committed the felony offenses. If you waive your right to a speedy preliminary hearing, it does not mean that you're giving up your right to have a preliminary hearing. It simply means that you would not be able to come back and challenge that the state did not present probable cause within 14 days. Do you understand?
Yes.
Have you had enough time to speak with Ms. Taylor about your decision to waive your right to a speedy preliminary hearing?
Yes.
Do you need any additional time to do so?
No.
Then I will ask at this time, as to the 5 counts, felony counts that were charged in the criminal complaint that was filed on December 29th of 2022, are you waiving your right to a speedy preliminary hearing and agreeing that that hearing can be held outside the 14-day period?
Yes.
And Ms. Taylor, do you concur with his waiver?
I do, Your Honor. Thank you.
I will find your waiver of speedy preliminary hearing is knowing, intelligently, voluntarily entered here in open court with the assistance of counsel. We will go ahead and set the matter for preliminary hearing. Beginning Monday, June 26th at 9:00 a.m. And I will go ahead and reserve the week, so June 26th to June 30th, in the event that we need all 5 days for presentation of evidence. And just so council knows, it will begin at 9 a.m. each of those days. Is there anything further to address at this time in the case, Mr. Thompson?
Not from the state's perspective, Your Honor, no.
All right. Or Ms. Taylor?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Kohberger, then you will be remanded into custody on your same no bail at this point in time, pending further proceedings. Again, we'll send notice out to council, and we will be in recess for this morning.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Status hearings are procedural. They involve lawyers discussing timelines, evidence deadlines, and scheduling. They are necessary parts of the legal process, but for families sitting in that courtroom, they feel like torture. Every hearing is another delay, another date circled on a calendar, another period of waiting while legal mechanisms grind slowly forward. The language is technical, removed from the emotional reality of 4 young lives taken violently. The families wanted a trial. They wanted to hear the evidence, to understand what happened, to force the person responsible to sit through testimony about the people he allegedly destroyed. They wanted answers, even knowing that some questions would remain forever unanswered. But the legal system operates on its own timeline, not on the timeline of human pain. Then, in early July 2025, something unexpected happened. After months of preparation, after jury selection was scheduled to begin in August, Bryan Kohberger's attorneys reached a plea agreement with prosecutors. In exchange for pleading guilty to all charges, the death penalty would be removed from consideration. Kohberger would receive 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus 10 years for burglary. The decision devastated some family members, particularly the Goncalves family. They had wanted a trial. They had wanted to see all the evidence presented publicly. They had wanted the possibility of the death penalty to remain on the table. They felt the plea deal was secretive, rushed, a betrayal of the justice they believed their daughter deserved. But prosecutors argued that the plea provided something a trial could never guarantee. Kohberger's sworn acknowledgement that the charges were true. His admission of guilt, on the record, forever. On July 2nd, 2025, Bryan Kohberger stood before a judge and spoke the words that would seal his fate and confirm what investigators had worked so hard to prove.
Oh, we got him. We took care of it. You guys.
$50,000 fine or both. Do you understand?
Yes.
Count 2 alleges that you committed the felony offense of murder in the first degree. It alleges that the defendant, Bryan C. Kohberger, on or about November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, did willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation, and with malice aforethought, kill and murder Madison Mogen, a human being, by stabbing Madison Mogen, from which she died. In violation of Idaho Code 18 4001, 4002, 4003, and 4004. The maximum penalty for this offense, if you were to plead guilty or be found guilty, is death or imprisonment for life.
The judge asked Kohberger how he pleaded to each count of murder, naming each victim individually. Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, each name cut through the courtroom, a reminder of the real human cost. And each time, Kohberger responded with one word, guilty. His voice was flat, emotionless. He showed no visible reaction. Defense attorneys had previously attributed this demeanor to his autism diagnosis, describing it as a flat effect, not an absence of remorse. The judge asked him directly, "Did you kill and murder each of these individuals?" And Kohberger, for the first time since his arrest, confirmed it aloud. Yes, 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 yes. For times, he admitted to taking 4 lives. He waived his right to appeal. He acknowledged that he understood the consequences. And just like that, the question of guilt was no longer a question. It was a fact, sworn under oath, recorded forever. At sentencing, victims are given the opportunity to speak. But sometimes, the trauma is so profound that speaking becomes impossible. That's when others must carry their words for them.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll be speaking on behalf of Bethany, and so, yeah, here it reads. My name is Bethany Funk, and I was roommates with Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. I not only lost some of my best friends, but I also lost a sister. Never in a million years would I have thought that something like this would have happened to my closest friends. I thought that we were going to wake up and go upstairs, see them and tell them how they had scared us and that they were going to tease us about how we were constantly scaredy cats and make jokes about it as we would go to Taco Bell like always. But sadly, that is not what happened and what turned out to be my worst nightmare. When I first woke up that morning, I had no idea what happened. I woke up around 7 with a terrible toothache. So I called my dad, who is a dentist, and he asked what I should do. He told me to take Advil, so I did, and I went back to sleep. I was still out of it and still didn't know what happened. If I had known, I of course would have called 911 right away. I still carry so much regret and guilt for not knowing what had happened and not calling right away, even though I understand it wouldn't have changed anything, not even if the paramedics had been right outside the door. I was so frantic that morning and scared to death, not knowing what had happened. And when I made the 911 call, I couldn't even get out the words. And from then on, I don't remember a thing. It was like my brain wiped that whole memory. That was the worst day of my life. And I know it always will be. While I was still in shock, trying to process the fact that my friends were truly gone, I had been attacked by the public. I was grieving, numb, and unsure of what had happened was even real. And at the same time, I was getting flooded with death threats and hateful messages from people who did not know me at all or know the dynamic of our friendship. Social media made it so much worse, and strangers made up stories to entertain themselves. The media harassed not just me, but also my family. People showed up at our house. They called my phone, my parents' phones, other family members' phones, and we were chased while I was still trying to survive emotionally and grieve the loss of my friends. I hated and still hate that they are gone, but for some reason, I am still here and I got to live. I still think about this every day. Why me? Why did I get to live and not them? For the longest time, I could not even look at their families without feeling sick with guilt. I did not know what to say or what to do. I was terrified that my presence just made their pain worse, and I was still here when their kid Their siblings and their friends, their loved ones should have been here instead. After everything happened, I was afraid to go into my own backyard or alone in my house. I was scared that the person who did this would come for me next. I was always scared that the media would try to catch me at any moment of any day, even when I was just walking around my house. I made my parents close all the blinds during the day so no one could see me even in the slightest chance. I barely left the house, and when I did, I made sure I was never alone. I slept in my parents' room for almost a year. I made them double lock every door, set an alarm, and still check everywhere in the room just in case someone was hiding. And I still check my room every night before, and I double lock it. I have not slept through a single night since this happened. I constantly wake up in panics, terrified. Someone is breaking in, or someone is here to hurt me, or I'm about to lose someone else that I love. The fear never really leaves. For a long time, I could barely get out of bed, but one day I realized I have to live for them. They did not get the chance to keep living, but I do, and I will not take that for granted. So now every day I remind myself to live for them, and everything I do it with them in mind. I am still scared to go out in public, but I force myself to do things because I know that they would want me to keep living my life to the fullest. I am beyond blessed to still be here, and I refuse to take that for granted when they did not get a chance. Our house was not just a house, it was a home. It was where we laughed till we couldn't breathe, make meals, did crafts, binge watch reality shows, played games, and spent lazy days on the couch. It was movie nights, wine nights, morning debriefs, pranks, hot chocolate, cookies, and warmth. I will cherish those memories forever, and I will not let what happened erase how special our home was or how much those memories meant to me.
Bethany Funk could not speak at the sentencing hearing. The weight of what she had endured, the magnitude of standing in a room with the person who had destroyed her world, was too much. So a friend stood at the podium and read Bethany's words aloud. The statement was raw, honest, painful. It spoke of nightmares, of the impossibility of feeling safe, of the way that night has replayed in her mind over and over, each time wondering if there was something she could have done. This is what trauma does. It doesn't just live in the past. It colonizes the future. Every night of sleep is a potential return to that horror. Every unexpected sound is a reminder. Bethany's voice was absent from the courtroom, but her pain was present in every word her friend read. This is the cost of survival. This is what it means to be the one who lived when others did not. Dylan Mortensen, the other surviving roommate, found the strength to stand before the court and speak directly. What she said would reveal the impossible burden she had carried since that night.
Next is Dylan Mortensen. We're asking for some accommodations for Ms. Mortensen and that she be allowed to sit in my seat.
Sure. Dylan, just take your time, all right?
Sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. What happened that night changed everything. Because of him, 4 beautiful, genuine, compassionate people were taken from this world for no reason. He didn't just take their lives. He took the light they carried it into every room. He took away how they made everyone feel safe, loved, and full of joy. He took away the ability for me to tell him that I love him and that I'm so proud of them. He took away who they were becoming and the futures they were going to have. He took away birthdays, graduations, celebrations, and all the memories that we were supposed to make. All of it is gone. And all the people who loved them are just left to carry that weight forever. He didn't just take them from the world, he took them from me, my friends, my people who felt like my home, the people I looked up to and adored more than anyone. He took away my ability to trust the world around me. What he did shattered me in places I didn't know could break. I was barely 19 when he did this. We had just celebrated my birthday at the end of September. I should have been figuring out who I was. I should have been having the college experience and starting to establish my future. Instead, I was forced to learn how to survive the unimaginable. I couldn't be alone. I had to sleep in my mom's bed because I was too terrified to close my eyes. Terrified that if I blinked, someone might be there. I made escape plans everywhere I went. If something happens, how do I get out? What can I use to defend myself? Who can help? And then there are the panic attacks. The kind that slam into me like a tsunami out of nowhere. I can't breathe. I can't think. I can't stop shaking. All I can do is scream because the emotional pain and the grief is too much to handle. My chest feels like it's caving in. Sometimes I drop to the floor with my heart racing, convinced something is very wrong. It's far beyond anxiety. It's my body reliving everything over and over again. My nervous system never got the message that it is over, and it won't let me forget what he did to them. People call me strong. They say I'm a survivor, but they don't see what my new reality looks like. They don't see the panic attacks, the hypervigilance, the exhaustion, the way I scan every room I enter, the way I flinch at sudden sounds. They don't know how heavy it is to carry so much pain and still be expected to keep going, and that's because of him. He stole parts of me I may never get back. He took the version of me who didn't constantly ask, what if it happens again? What if next time I don't survive? He may have shattered parts of me, but I'm still putting myself back together. Piece by piece, I'm learning how to live in this new version of life. It is not easy. It hurts, but I'm still trying. Still trying, and I'm not trying just for me. I'm trying for them, my friends. About a year ago, I had a dream about them. I got to say goodbye. I told them I won't be able to see you again, so I need to tell you goodbye. They all kept asking why, and all I could say was, I can't tell you, but I have to. When I woke up, I felt shattered and heartbroken, but also strangely grateful. Like maybe in some way that dream gave us the goodbye we never got. Still, no dream can replace them, and no goodbye will ever feel finished. He is a hollow vessel, something less than human. A body without empathy, without remorse. He chose destruction. He chose evil. He feels nothing. He tried to take everything from me. My friends, my safety, my identity, my future. He took their lives, but I will continue trying to be like them, to make them proud. Living is how I honor them. Speaking today is to help me find some sort of justice for them. And I will never let him take that from me. He may have taken so much from me, but he will never get to take my voice. He will never take the memories I had with them. He will never erase the love we shared, the laughs we had, or the way they made me feel seen and whole. Those things are mine. They are sacred, and he will never touch them. I get to feel sadness. I get to feel rage. I get to feel joy even when it's hard. I get to feel love even when it hurts. I get to live. And while I will still live with this pain, at least I get to live my life. He will stay here, empty, forgotten, and powerless.
Dylan, thank you so much for your courage.
Dylan Mortensen had seen something that night. According to the affidavit that led to Kohberger's arrest, she had opened her bedroom door around 4 a.m. and saw a figure dressed in black, wearing a mask with bushy eyebrows. She watched as this person walked past her toward the back door. She had been frozen in fear, confused, unable to process what she was seeing in real time. She locked her door and did not emerge until hours later. For over 2 years, the public had speculated about Dylan. Why didn't she call 911 immediately? Why did she wait? The questions were cruel, ignorant of how trauma actually works, how the brain shuts down under extreme fear. At the sentencing, Dylan spoke publicly for the first time. She addressed Kohberger directly. She described living with the knowledge of what she saw, how it replays endlessly now that she understands what it meant. She spoke with restraint, with dignity, but also with the weight of someone who has been forced to carry a memory no person should have to carry. She was the last line between normalcy and horror that night, and she will spend the rest of her life knowing it. Dylan Mortensen is a survivor, but her survival came with a cost that most people will never have to understand. Kaylee Goncalves' sister, Olivia, took the stand with a fury born from love, a refusal to let her sister's memory be softened or diminished.
Hello, I'd like to start by thanking the court for allowing me the time and opportunity to speak today. My name is Olivia, and I'm the big sister of Kaylee Goncalves, and I was blessed to love Madison Mogen as a sister too. I'm not here today to speak in grief, I'm here to speak in truth. Because the truth is, my sister Kaylee and her best friend Maddie were not yours to take. They were not yours to study, to stalk, or to silence. They were two pieces of a whole, the perfect yin and yang. They are everything that you could never be. Loved, accepted, vibrant, accomplished, brave, and powerful. Because the truth about Kaylee and Maddie is they would have been kind to you. If you had approached them in their everyday lives, they would have given you directions, thanked you for the compliment, or awkwardly giggled to make your own words less uncomfortable for you. In a world that rejected you, they would have shown mercy. Because the truth is, I'm angry. Every day I'm angry. I'm left shouting at the inside of my own head everything I wish I could say to you. The truth about me is when I heard the news, I didn't cry. I listened for them. I promised them I would, that I would fight for them, that I would show up no matter what it cost me. I swore I'd never let them feel alone. Because you see, I've always been their heavyweight. I've always been the one to fight the battles they didn't feel ready to fight themselves. All it ever took was a call, and they knew I would handle it for them, no matter the time, no matter the cost. They could wave their white flag because they knew I would never back down, not for them. And not even death could change that. Somewhere along the line, I started to think about what I would say to them if I was given just one last chance. If I could gather enough heartbreak or love or sacrifice or whatever it took to get just one message across. What would I say? Throughout this entire process, I've written my feelings down at every moment, my wishes, my love, my denial, my anger. And as one final act of love, I'd planned to read these thoughts, even jarring and discombobulating and not even making sense. Because for me, that was true love. As bare and as naked as it could be, not laced in pretty words or dressed for the occasion, but written through bleary eyes at 2 a.m. with clenched fists, angry at this reality. My true final act of love was to continue on without them, for them. That dream to read aloud my love to them, to bring meaning through pain, was the latest blow in realizing you don't deserve it. And Kaylee and Maddie don't need it. Kaylee and Maddie have always known my love, and they would never ask me to prove it by further victimizing myself to a defendant who has shown no guilt, no remorse, no apprehension. They would say to me, "Why would you give the satisfaction of showing vulnerability now? You promised you would never back down." And for that clarity, I'm thankful. I won't stand here and give you what you want. I won't offer you tears. I won't offer you trembling. Disappointments like you thrive on pain, on fear, and on the illusion of power. And I won't feed your beast. Instead, I will call you what you are. Sociopath, psychopath, murderer. I will ask the questions that reverberate violently in my own head, so loudly that I can't think straight most any day. Some of these might be familiar, so sit up straight when I talk to you. How was your life right before you murdered my sisters? Did you prepare for the crime before leaving your apartment? Please detail what you were thinking and feeling at this time. Why did you choose my sisters? Before making your move, did you approach my sisters? Detail what you were thinking and feeling. Before leaving their home, is there anything else you did? How does it feel to know the only thing you failed more miserably at than being a murderer is trying to be a rapper? Did you recently start shaving or manually pulling out your eyebrows? Why November 13th? Did you truly think your Amazon purchase was untraceable because you used a gift card? How do you find it enjoyable to stargaze with such a severe case of visual snow? Where is the murder weapon? The clothes you wore that night? What did you bring into the house with you? What was the second weapon you used on Kaylee? What were Kaylee's last words? Please describe in detail the level of anxiety you must have felt when you heard the Bearcat pull up to your family home on December 30th, 2022. Which do you regret more? Returning to the crime.
Olivia Goncalves did not hold back. She spoke with anger, with grief that had transformed into something sharper, more confrontational. She looked at Kohberger and told him exactly what he had taken from her family. She refused to cry for him, refused to give him the satisfaction of seeing her break. Instead, she channeled her pain into words that demanded accountability, that refused to let him sit silently without hearing the full scope of the destruction he had caused. This is anger as devotion. This is a sister protecting a memory, ensuring that Kaylee is remembered not as a victim in a headline, but as a person who was loved fiercely, whose absence has left a hole that will never be filled. Olivia's statement was not about vengeance. It was about refusing to let Kohberger's actions be the final word on her sister's life. It was about making sure that the world knows Kaylee Goncalves mattered, that her life had meaning beyond the way it ended. Madison Mogen's father stood before the court with a composure that somehow made his words even more devastating.
Now it's Ben Mogen, Maddie Mogen's father.
I'm Benjamin Mogen. I'm Maddie's dad. And first I just want to say thanks to all the people that helped bring this all to a close. I know it's not the resolution that everyone, wanted, but I think that that everyone worked so hard, and we really appreciate all their efforts. It was such a hard thing to go through for everybody. Maddie was my only child that I ever had. She's the only great thing I ever really did, and the only thing I was really ever proud of. And I thought we would have the rest of our lives together to be together and to know each other, and I took for granted the times she was in college, and I thought, oh well, we'll have the rest of our lives to do all the stuff that we're supposed to do, and she was just about done. She actually earned all of her credits for college degree, and Karen and Scotty and I got to go and get her diploma that she actually earned, and she deserved every bit of that. And but I thought that was going to be just the beginning of a long life together, and we never got that. Karen and Scotty did such a great job raising her after Karen and I split up, and I'm so thankful for Scotty and the role that he played in her life when I wasn't able to. But we got to spend a lot of great times together, Maddie and I. She was my favorite person to go to a concert with. We got to see some fun shows together, and I told her, if there's ever a show that you want to go to, let me know, and I'll get you tickets for you and your friend, or if we want to go together, we'll make it happen. And my favorite memory with her was when the Mac Miller show sold out here in Spokane, and everyone wanted tickets, no one could get them, and on the last day before the show, they did a radio thing, and I got 4 meet and greet tickets for Maddie and her friends, and me to go and see the show, and that was her favorite artist at the time, was Mac Miller, and he's gone now too, and my little cousin Zach drove us all there that night, and he's gone too, tragically, and anyway, the last thing that she ever wrote to me was this Father's Day card, and I'm so glad I still have it. I'm just going to read what she said. It says, "Happy Father's Day. I hope you have the best day. I can't wait till we can hang out again soon. I'll be in Coeur d'Alene 6:24 to 7:4. Hopefully we can find a time then. I love your birthday card that you sent me, by the way. Maybe we can see a concert sometime soon. I'd love to see the gorge when it's not so smoky out. I hope you're doing well. I'm proud of how far you've come. Thank you for always encouraging me to do my best. Love you lots and lots. Love, Maddie May." She did encourage me to not just to do my best, but to live on. I went through a lot of issues with addiction and with substance abuse, and when I wasn't wanting to live anymore, she was what would keep me from just not caring anymore. And knowing that she was out there and that she was just such a beautiful person kept me alive a lot of rough moments. And I'm so glad that she was able to meet Jake. He was the only one that I actually ever got to take her to the gorge. They went and saw watershed together, and yeah, they had a heck of a time. I'm glad she got to. That's a really special place for me, and she always wanted to work out there with me in the summer sometime. She never got to, but at least she got to see it once with Jake. He was such a great guy. He is such a great guy. And I really wanted to see what a future with them would have looked like. I'll never be able to replace her. I wrote a bunch of stuff. I just don't know what to say right now. I just miss her so much, and I just love her more than anything. And this shouldn't have happened. And a death sentence is one thing. You know when it's going to happen, and it's going to be all gentle and stuff. But life without parole, with a building full of people that all just want you to not be around anymore, and winking at every morning, not knowing if that's the day they're going to pull your card. I mean, it's not a very nice sentence either. So, I don't know. I just love you, Maddie, and I wish you were still here.
Ben Mogen chose precision over emotion. He spoke calmly, with measured words, describing his daughter not in abstract terms, but in specific memories. He talked about who Madison was, what she loved, what she wanted to become. He spoke directly to the loss, to the future that was stolen, to the graduations and weddings and grandchildren that will never exist. His restraint was powerful because it required an immense act of will. This is grief that refuses to be performative. This is a father who has decided that the most respectful thing he can do for his daughter is to speak about her with the dignity she deserved in life. He did not scream. He did not rage. He simply told the truth about what was taken, and that truth, delivered so carefully, carried more weight than any outburst could have. Ben Mogen's statement was a reminder that not all pain is loud. Some of the deepest pain is quiet, controlled, and unrelenting. The final moment had arrived. The court would now deliver a sentence that would define the rest of Bryan Kohberger's life.
All right, does the defense have evidence to present today?
No evidence.
All right. Does the defense wish to make argument today?
Runner, we do not wish to make arguments. Mr. Kohberger, along with his legal team, is prepared for the court to enter judgment.
All right, Mr. Kohberger, you have an opportunity to make a statement if you wish to. I take it you are declining.
I respectfully decline.
Well. Please. All right, let me start this morning by acknowledging and thanking those that have come here today in support of their loved ones, and I appreciate your courage and your strength. And I hope that you are able to move on as best as possible. Thank counsel for the professionalism that they've exhibited throughout this case. It has been my great honor to preside in this case and to help bring, to the extent possible, some resolution and hopefully justice to this case. During the quiet morning hours of November 13, 2022, a faceless coward breached the tranquility of 6 beautiful young people and senselessly slaughtered them, 4 of them. Who committed this unspeakable evil was unknown for several weeks, but due to the killer's incompetence and outstanding police work by numerous local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies, the person that slithered through that sliding glass door at 1122 King Road now stands before the world and this court unmasked. This unfathomable and senseless act of evil has caused immeasurable pain and loss. No parent should ever have to bury their child. This is the greatest tragedy that can be inflicted upon a person. Parents who took their children to college in a truck filled with moving boxes had to bring them home in hearses lined with coffins. The loss this killer inflicted was not just the death of these people's children, siblings, grandchildren, as we've heard today. It has ripped a hole in their soul, destroying a special part of their very essence. Any person who is a parent defines themselves foremost as such. It is their existence and purpose of being. And it has been stolen from these parents. None of us have experienced the loss these victims have in the unspeakable way that they have. And therefore, none of us can, nor should we, question the way in which they have handled their loss. Whether that be in private mourning, removed as far as possible from this media circus, or in front of a camera demanding retribution with the loudest megaphone. I've listened intently to the stories and pain that have been shared today, with great awe at the courage and resilience of the surviving family members of those wonderful children. I've listened also to the surviving roommates, both in person and through their friends. And I can't think of how, frankly, courageous they have been despite the hell that they have faced by uncaring people who have come up with all kinds of crazy theories about 2 kids simply being kids. The parents, siblings, and other family members who have spoken today are designated as victims in our legal system. But going forward, I hope that they can shed that label, as it gives too much power to the evil that condemned them to that role. They are and should be known as survivors, fighters, and foremost as witnesses to the tremendous lives of value and unbounded promise of these 4 young people. But those speaking today and those who did not speak, but who carry the same burden, this same loss, now carry forward the memories of these now perpetually young people, these forever children. These survivors carry the responsibility of ensuring that the voices of these children, Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan, are never forgotten, and the positive impacts that they have had on so many lives are never minimized, and that the love they shared, the light that they shined onto others, is forever celebrated. As we sit here today, this case is ending, and we are now certain who committed these unspeakable acts of evil, but we don't know, and what we may never know is why. I share the desire expressed by others to understand the why. But upon reflection, it seems to me, and this is just my own opinion, that by continuing to focus on why, we continue to give Mr. Kohberger relevance. We give him agency and we give him power. The need to know what is inherently not understandable makes us dependent upon the defendant to provide us with a reason, and that gives him the spotlight, the attention, and the power he appears to crave. Yet even if I could force him to speak, which legally I cannot, how could anyone ever be assured that what he speaks is the truth? Do we really believe, after all of this, he's capable of speaking the truth or of giving up something of himself to help the very people whose lives he destroyed? Rather, I suspect the so-called reason would be dished out in enticing, self-serving, and aggrandizing untruthful bits, leaving people wanting more information, more insight, and thus enhancing even further the power he seeks to hold. Even if we could get truthful insight into his why, I suspect it would not in any way quench one's thirst for actually understanding why in the first instance.
The judge acknowledged something that haunted everyone in that courtroom. The motive may never be known. Kohberger had admitted his guilt, but he had not explained why. He had taken 4 lives, destroyed multiple families, traumatized an entire community, and he offered no insight into what drove him to do it. The judge sentenced him to 4 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, plus 10 years for burglary. Kohberger would spend the rest of his life in prison, most likely in solitary confinement. When given the opportunity to speak, Kohberger declined. He said he respectfully chose not to address the court. And so the families were left with finality, but not closure. They had a conviction, a sentence, a legal conclusion, but they did not have answers. They did not have an explanation. They had justice in the legal sense, but not in the emotional sense. Because justice, in cases like this, is an illusion. No sentence can bring back the dead. No punishment can undo what was done. This case will be studied in criminology courses, the same field Kohberger once pursued. It will be analyzed for what it reveals about criminal behavior, about forensic science, about the intersection of technology and investigation. But for the families, for the survivors, for the community of Moscow, Idaho, this is not an academic case. This is a permanent scar, a before and after, a reminder that evil can walk among us undetected until it's too late. The most chilling part of this case is not the violence itself, though that was horrific. It's the ordinariness that surrounded it. A criminology student studying violent crime while allegedly planning to commit one. A man who appeared normal to classmates, to professors, to police officers who pulled him over. A house on King Road that looked like any other college rental until you stepped inside and found unimaginable horror. A surveillance camera at Costco that captured someone shopping hours after taking 4 lives, looking like any other customer on an ordinary day. Think about that Costco footage for a moment. The parking lot, the shopping carts, the fluorescent lights. People moving through their day, buying groceries, completely unaware that they were sharing space with someone who had just committed an unthinkable act hours earlier. There's no visible sign of what had happened. No blood on his hands, no panic in his movements, no indication that the world had just been permanently altered for multiple families. He moves through that space like anyone else, and that is precisely what makes it so disturbing. This is what should terrify us. Not monsters in the dark, but people who blend seamlessly into everyday life. Not obviously dangerous individuals, but those who maintain a facade of normalcy while concealing something profoundly broken inside. Bryan Kohberger studied the criminal mind, and in doing so, he allegedly became what he studied. He understood how investigations work, how evidence is gathered, how law enforcement thinks. He knew the patterns, the methodologies, the science behind criminal investigations. And yet, despite all that knowledge, he made a critical mistake. He left behind a piece of evidence that would unravel everything. That knife sheath with his DNA on it became the thread that investigators pulled until the entire case came into focus. It's a reminder that no matter how much someone studies crime, no matter how carefully they plan, human error is inevitable. The forensic technology that has revolutionized cold case investigations, the same genetic genealogy that identified the Golden State Killer, was the tool that led authorities from an unknown DNA sample to Bryan Kohberger's name. Science, patient detective work, and one crucial piece of physical evidence were enough. But it took time, expertise, and the coordinated effort of multiple agencies working together. For families will never be whole again. Madison's family will never see her graduate, never watch her build the career she dreamed of, never meet the children she might have had. Kaylee's family will forever carry the knowledge that her final moments were ones of terror and pain. Xana's family lost a daughter whose life was just beginning, whose potential was limitless. Ethan's family lost a son who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, whose only mistake was loving someone and staying by her side. Two survivors will carry the weight of that night forever. They will wake up from nightmares, replay every detail, ask themselves questions that have no good answers. They will carry guilt they don't deserve, fear that may never fully subside, and memories that will intrude into moments that should be safe and ordinary. Their survival is not a gift without cost. It is a burden they will bear for the rest of their lives. A community learned that safety is more fragile than anyone wants to believe. Parents across the country held their children a little tighter. College students locked their doors with new urgency. And a small town in Idaho became famous for something no one ever wants to be known for. The house on King Road has been demolished now, torn down because it became a symbol of horror rather than a home. But demolishing a structure doesn't erase what happened inside it. The memory remains, carved into the collective consciousness of everyone who followed this case. The question that haunts everyone connected to this case is simple and unanswerable. Why? What drives someone to do something so irreversible, so destructive? What happens in a person's mind that allows them to cross a line most of us can't even imagine approaching? We may never know. And perhaps that's the most unsettling part of all. To the victims, Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, your lives mattered deeply. Your dreams mattered. You were more than the way your stories ended. To the survivors and families, your strength is a testament to resilience. This has been Dark Trail Files. If this case affected you, if it made you think differently about the world we live in, then make sure you're subscribed. Turn on notifications. Share this video with others who care about real stories told with respect and accuracy. We cover cases that deserve to be remembered. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay informed, and remember that the most dangerous people are often the ones we never see coming. Evil hides in plain sight. This is Dark Trail Files. Thank you for watching.